to the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. They're kicking off another week of action by giving all new customers a can't-miss offer. Bet just $1 on any football game and receive $150 in free bets instantly when you use the code PHNX to sign up. The Cardinals, your Arizona Cardinals, 4-0 to start the season. Man, they beat the LA Rams 37-20. Guys, can you believe it? This was about as good of a performance as anyone could have asked for.
I mean, fantastic from the start. I mean, the first drive was a little rough, but after that, I mean, this is probably the first game in 3-4 years where you felt like, oh, it's one of these games where they're on a mission. Like they're done with all the talk, all the doubt about their 3-0 record being less, as less impressive than the Rams, which on paper it was.
Yeah.
But today they came out and smacked the shit out of the Rams. And now this whole division is up for grabs.
Yeah. With the Cardinals in the driver's seat. This was different than last year as opposed to that Sunday night game against Seattle, which felt like a finesse win. They came back from behind. They won in overtime. Outside of the first quarter, where it was 10-7, the Cardinals put their foot on the gas. They ran for over 200 yards, didn't turn the ball over. Kyler Murray maybe played his best, most complete game ever, and not just from a gaudy box score perspective, but just his efficiency.
His decision-making.
Absolutely. Taking what was there to be had by the Rams defense. No, it's the biggest win in the Cliff Kyler regime so far.
And Cliff got the proverbial monkey off his back Tuesday, able to beat his good friend Sean McVay down in LA. But yeah, I mean, Derek is joining us.
Hey. We have somebody that's kind of suffering a little bit of depression right now because tank season has officially ended, and it didn't end in a good way because the Diamondbacks found a way to win and sacrificed the first pick overall.
This is the winner's lounge.
Yeah.
So you got to turn it around.
You got to change that spirit, baby, because here we go.
Walk out the door, then come reevaluate, and then come back in.
Man, I'll tell you, it was refreshing to watch what the Cardinals did to the Rams after seeing the Diamondbacks win and break my heart, but it is what it is. The draft is what it is when it comes to baseball. So you never know what the Orioles are going to do. And if there was a team I would count on screwing up the number 1 draft pick, it would be the Baltimore Orioles. Yeah, so we'll see what can happen.
Agreed.
All right. Well, the Cardinals didn't really screw anything up today,
no, they did not.
So that's good. And it's hard to even begin with this game. I would say the biggest thing that it just brings joy to me is they kind of seem to figure out their red zone issues.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most frustrating parts about last year. There was little things like I would joke last year that like I'd rather like the closer they got to the goal line, the worse it was. Like no, don't get any closer. Like anything within the red zone, like I just don't trust it. And that wasn't an issue.
The end of the first half notwithstanding, because that was a little bit iffy when they couldn't punch it in, they had to kick a field goal. The dynamic of the offensive line has shifted because of one Rodney Hudson, who, by the way, they didn't have week 17 last year, and Kyler Murray was knocked out of the game. That was a very different story today. James Conner and especially Chase Edmonds running the football effectively, especially in the red zone where they just kind of took the Rams' will, and that second half it was never in doubt. And so, yeah, they kicked a couple field goals. They've got some things to iron out, but, I mean, they can score in so many different ways. I mean, Christian Kirk, who is their leading receiver coming into this game, probably their most prolific through 3 weeks of the season. I don't think he had a catch today. Didn't matter. Tight end is elevated himself, Max Williams. They've got 2 capable running backs. It's the most complete team they've had since 2015 easily.
I hope that guys like, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but let's be real. Guys like Keyshawn Johnson, who watch this team from afar and remember Cliff Kingsbury from his Texas Tech days and have this preconceived notion that this is just a total air raid offense, will watch this game and realize, man, I had this all wrong. Complete balance on both sides of the ball. 216 yards on the ground today for the Cardinals. 268 through the air. That's balance. And so all those people out there that were kind of wondering, or they were watching the Cardinals from a distance, I hope you understand this is not an air raid offense. It hasn't been.
No.
It hasn't been since year 1. And even in year 1, they dominated on the ground the second half of the season, especially after they traded for Kenyon Drake. So enough with that BS. This should put that all to rest, and people need to understand that this is a very balanced team. The only weakness this team has, and I'm still waiting for it to come to fruition. After week 1, we haven't really seen much of a pass rush.
No.
And I'm surprised that Matthew Stafford was as ineffective as he was, even though the Cardinals didn't really get much pressure on him throughout the day.
Well, today they were able to rush on the Cardinals, run on them whenever they wanted to, and that was another part of that, right? Is that the Cardinals still don't have the run defense that you would expect to see, considering how dominant this defensive line has looked at times, right? But like you said, they haven't been able to put it together since week 1.
I think you need to see more from the 16th overall pick. Xavier Collins has to play more, whether that means you take Jordan Hicks off of the starting lineup or not. I know he's played well at times to begin the season, had a couple of interceptions, but you have to see what you have in Collins, and the run defense, especially in the first half, is going to get you beat in a lot of different instances. And you're paying J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones a lot of money for this season alone.
You getting choked up, buddy? Or?
No, I've got.
What's happening? I was
I've got.
You need a cough drop?
I told Saul this morning I've got the Joe Buck hair plugs issue going on with my voice, but my hair's all natural. But no, it's I lost my voice screaming at Shan all week during our bet show that you should watch, by the way. But no, they might need to trade for defensive line help. That's really the only outlier issue that they have.
Right, for sure.
Their secondary played phenomenal. Jalen Thompson, man. Of course, we're all a little bit concerned about Byron Murphy, who did, by the way, get another interception. That's 3 in the last 2 games for him. So he got out to another great start, but is dealing with a little bit of a back issue. So I would say for sure that's probably the worst thing to come out of today. Yeah. But the secondary stepped up big time regardless.
Yeah, it looked like it was a rib issue. They were spraying him on the sideline to start the second half, I believe, or right before a possession. He has rib protectors, but sometimes when you take a good enough clean hit, it can get a little wonky. But going back to Jalen Thompson, I mean, he hit some dudes hard today. Yeah. And if you don't think those receivers weren't thinking just a little bit more about going over the middle or on the sideline, like very, very much so, it didn't help that Matthew Stafford was largely inaccurate. I don't know.
Wow, that's what you were going for.
I was going for that. Yeah, that's my first day with the English language. Thank you. He was very inaccurate today. He was skipping balls on the ground. He had Cooper Kupp wide open on a seam route and threw it at his feet. Like, those are the things that happen. I will say this: I just said that the Cardinals didn't get a lot of pressure on Matthew Stafford, but I do think that they collapsed the pocket enough just to see out of your peripheral, just to throw you a little bit off, and I think that affected him largely. And also, Matthew Stafford, for a veteran quarterback, his technique was awful today. That pass to Cooper Kupp, flat-footed, he tried to use total arm strength. Even for a guy like Matthew Stafford, your technique still has to be solid.
Well, I think that was part of their game plan today, too, is to kind of forego the rush to kind of shut Stafford down in the secondary, and it worked, obviously, because he couldn't do anything against this team, even though they were able to give up these huge runs at times, and at times look like they couldn't stop the run at all. I love, though, what the Cardinals are able to do on short yardage situations, even when it's not the red zone. I think the fact that they brought in James Conner and what he's just been able to do as a power back is making such a huge difference.
How about another 2-touchdown game from him?
Right. And I mean, Kyler Murray has to do less with rushing than he had to last year. I think that's such a big deal with it right now, is that he uses his legs to get himself open and make an accurate pass rather than
Leah is laughing at comments, and I
what
don't know
is happening,
what comments are being played.
Nobody wants to see those disgusting.
It's you.
What a hater. Andrea, go away with that mess, man.
You're not wrong.
I have sexy feet. I will have you know.
That's why I have. Did you notice? That's why I have my computer right here, so it blocks the view. I'm kidding.
I think it's covered by the DraftKings logo.
Well, it is now. Shit, there it is.
Well, by far, I think our draft.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you. I do have pretty toes.
How can you reach
Shane
that?
works for us, by the way, for those of you who don't know.
Oh, John,
he's on the payroll.
He's obligated to say it.
And Leah is drunk behind the computer. She's falling apart.
This is what happens when the Cardinals win. Yeah.
We're allowed to do this.
All right.
And now I'm going to take back the wheel. We're driving straight. All right, guys. our DraftKings Sportsbook king of the game by far. This is an easy one. Kyler Murray, 24 of 32 passing for 268 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was a pest out there for defenders.
Yeah.
His ability, and he scrambled and ended up running for a couple first downs today too. But I couldn't imagine how annoying it must have been to try and stop him. I mean, LA's defense couldn't do anything.
He was as efficient as he's ever been. He was looking to throw first, but then if he had to run, he would take off. And it wasn't, these long, elaborate runs. He would slide when he had to. I mean, he completed 24 of 32 for 268, 8.4 yards per completion. So almost 10 yards of completion he was completing out there. So almost a first down every time he dropped back. So it was the kind of performance that we talked about all week that he needed to have. He couldn't be erratic. He couldn't force the ball, couldn't put it on the ground, because we saw with the Rams, when they had 2 turnovers, the Cardinals capitalized. And I fully would have expected the Rams to do the same thing. He had a perfect performance start to finish.
The thing I love what I'm seeing from Kyler. I said this at the beginning of the season. I wanted to see him be able to execute more from the pocket.
Yep.
And be able to make those laser throws like you see Aaron Rodgers do, like you see Brady do from time to time. Like, I wanted to see those. I saw that today.
Yeah.
He had some throws that one to Max Williams over the linebacker right before the safety could catch up. And Max Williams took a hell of a shot and made a hell of a catch. But that was a ball that only his receiver can make. You know what I mean? So that was the beauty of Kyler Murray today. And then it just doesn't seem like he's rushed. This year, for whatever reason, he seems in full control of what he is doing out there on the field. That's what makes me believe that he is a legit MVP contender, as opposed to like last season where he would have these same highlights, but he was a little bit less accurate with the ball. He was a little frazzled from time to time. He got out of the pocket a little too quick and didn't trust his arm and his eyes. And this year he is doing that.
His MVP odds, I'm sure, are up even greater after this performance. As always, if you sign up for the DraftKings Sportsbook app using the code PHNX, bet just $1 on any game, you're going to get $150 in free bets instantly. 21 and over, Arizona only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Saul, you might want to...
Before this game, Matthew Stafford was at a plus 650.
No longer.
Not anymore. Guarantee you. So to your point about Kyler Murray, I'm sure his odds are going to skyrocket after this one.
Now, what I was going to say is you might want to plug your ears. Arizona State, they had a great game last night, and that leads me to let you guys know about the promo we have going on. For members, if you buy any college tee, so that is U of A or ASU.
Hey, we didn't lose this weekend.
Also didn't play.
Semantics.
Buy any college tee, get any other shirt half off. So that's what we have going on for our members.
That includes that Rise Up Red Sea shirt that we have. That's pretty sick.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
My favorite's the other one. So you can't go wrong with either one of them. But yeah, so you don't have to be a member to buy a shirt, phnxlocker.com. Anyone can buy them on our website. All right, guys, let's move on. Let's play a little game. Show your cards. So we're just going to use our hands this week since we have so many people. And I didn't print off the pages for you guys. So.
I wish I had more hands so I can use these cards. Full thumbs down.
Okay, Derek, you're new to the show, so the way that we play this is normally we would hold up rating cards, but I'm just going to give a player or a situation, a unit, whatever I say. You're just going to hold up the number that you would rate them, give them. So
it's just going to be all 10s. It's just
after watching the D-backs today. You're
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, let's be fair. The D-backs won in extra or in walk-off fashion in a home run, even though it. Never mind. Yeah,
let's hope this is the last season PHNX has to openly root for D-backs to lose games.
That's absolutely it. A tank season is over officially and dead, and onto our winning ways.
Were you there for the walk-off?
No, I left.
Okay.
I left.
I was going to ask if there was booze or what the.
I don't know what the reaction is. I'm interested to find that out. Jesse was there though, my co-host, so we'll have to find out.
Ask.
On Monday.
Okay, well, this one might start out with a 10 across the board. Kyler Murray's performance. He gets a 10 out of 10 from me.
11.
I'm gonna go 9.
Saul, damn it.
What is wrong with
Saul,
you?
why
I'm
would-
gonna go
What the
9.
hell?
I'm gonna go 9.
How high are your
I'm-
expectations? No turnovers?
Listen,
Yeah, no turn.
how many
What
toes
else
you
could
give
you
him?
ask from?
I'm giving it 9 because this guy in the chat was disrespecting my feet. But I'm gonna give him a 9 because I think he still has another level. And when he gets to that other level, trust me, everybody knows. If I give you a 10, that means, oh shit, Saul really loved that one. I thought he was fantastic today, but he still has another level to go. I think he's going to reach it easily, and I think it's going to come out at some point this season where you see him have a performance where he does throw for like 350 and maybe even runs for 100, and you're just like, he's just that dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think he was that dude today.
I think so.
I,
too.
I mean,
I just can't find anything to criticize about his
No.
performance today.
The defense was just as good. And that's
valid.
where I'm like, okay, well, you know,
Maybe you could nitpick.
This was a total team effort. Kyler did stand out as an individual, but the team as a whole held the Rams to 13 points.
Yeah.
They stopped them on the goal line at 4th and 1. Towards the end of the game where it could have gone in anyway. And then they proceeded to drive down the field with the rushing attack 99 yards.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just Kyler today, even though he had a tremendous impact on the game.
But he didn't have to do that much because
know.
of the lead.
He
this
played
was
within himself.
here's my thing. This was, you could argue, and I certainly would, that this was the biggest game of Kyler Murray's career.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And he
Absolutely.
did
yes.
everything he needed to do in this game, and that's why I'm saying 10 out of 10.
We're just used to 4 touchdown performances, right? And we're used to 400 total yards. And that wasn't the recipe for success today. The recipe for success was to do what he did. Be efficient, control the clock, run the football, work off of play action,
Yep.
do your RPOs. He did all that.
Not throwing
10
any
out of 10.
interceptions.
That's right. 10 out of 10.
Feed Frank. That's all.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, so
Did
I
you get
bet
that one, Chierstin?
I bet I don't know. I just
He's
felt
tweeting now,
I
by
just
the way.
felt like Frank was being too technical about it. Frank said that Kyler wasn't going to throw any picks in this game, and I just was trying to spite him, and I said, okay, let's make a bet on it. So I owe him wings, and
He's tweeted out an
Wait.
aggressive meme or a gif of Mr. Bean. You remember Mr. Bean? Just pounding chicken wings. And he says, me eating Lolo's wings in
it was
studio
Lolo's.
Tuesday. White napkin. Congratulations, Cardinals.
Are they going to be boneless or are they going to be
No,
bone-in?
No,
no.
if
Real wing dudes
He's gonna
eat.
If
Yeah,
I
my
had
bones.
won the bet, it would have been Applebee's boneless wings, which would have been a disservice to everybody else other than me.
God, I hope Applebee's doesn't become a sponsor. Because I'm definitely
They
going to.
have one down the street. Okay. Cliff Kingsbury.
10. Perfect game from Cliff. His play calling in the third quarter, that screen to Max Williams, phenomenal.
Yep.
No complaints today. Yeah, Coach McVay. He's had his team ready to go from start to finish. Perfect performance.
10. Absolutely.
He get 10 for me. And I do, we talked about how, Matthew Stafford, didn't have a great game and, there was penalties, turnovers. I don't want that to take, because I think they said at the end of the broadcast too, like this was just an uncharacteristic performance by the Rams. I don't want that to take away from anything that the Cardinals were able to do.
It was uncharacteristic because the Cardinals came out there and
Thank
smacked
you.
that ass.
That's right.
why.
It's uncharacteristic
Like, that's what it was.
because of
Like,
how badly
you know,
they beat them, right?
Yeah,
and everybody's picked this team.
anytime you go up against a team that's better than you,
Yep.
it's going to make you look kind of average and less awesome than you thought you
Yeah.
were. Like, that's just how it is. That's sports.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm pretty awesome when I'm on Madden, and then I play somebody that's even better, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really that good anymore.
Yeah, that's-
Okay, so the Rams
truth.
beat the defending Super Bowl champions last week.
Yep.
And then the Cardinals beat the Rams
In
this
so
week.
facto,
So
we
what
are
does
the
that mean?
Lions.
The Cardinals are now the Super Bowl
They're the
champions.
only undefeated team left in the NFL.
That's what it
do
means.
with
That
that
is
what you
so
may.
impressive.
I think
Yeah.
the thing about his play calling today was that it was kind of conventional. There wasn't like this big need to do anything crazy. They were just able to run the ball and set up the passing offense and do things like, yes, there were good calls, there were good plays drawn up, but for the most part, I didn't really feel like there was at times, like we've seen in the past, this necessity to do something crazy at some point in the game. There was no like drastic play calls or anything. There was
Right.
no 4th and 15 going for it or, 75-yard field goals. But there was the 55-yard, which again is such a game changer when you have a kicker that can actually make those and add those points
That's right.
on instead
It's-
of not.
It's totally predicated on the personnel that he has to play with this year. And
Sure.
Rodney Hudson at the center position has just made a world of difference for that offensive line.
Yeah.
Like, you can't overlook that.
Right.
So last year and the year before, when people were like, oh, I can't believe they can't make it on 4th and 1, personnel dictates the success that you have.
Absolutely.
And they have better personnel this year. That's just that. So everybody could talk about coaching, but your coaching decisions look much better when you have better players.
Again,
That's just
This
it's
should
so
be the
basic.
culmination of the 3-year rebuild that they've had. They've had the same offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. He's been calling the plays for 3 years. They've had the same defensive coordinator. They've had the same quarterback. This should be the culmination of we're trying to win a Super Bowl. That's what everybody envisions when you draft a quarterback first overall and you hire a new head coach after multiple off seasons of free agency and the draft. You should say big picture by year 3. It's like you're a business owner. You look at your outlook over the first 3 to 5 years. This is the year. This is the pop year. And they're right on schedule. I'm sure if they look back 2 years ago as to where they would be, they would say, we're a contender in the NFC.
Cheers.
And
Can I
that's
give
where
him a
they're at
10? Because for the first time, we talked about how Cliff outcoached McVay, and everybody talks about schematically how McVay will always finds a way to get his receivers open and this, and he does a lot of movement things that will trick the defense into thinking something's going to happen. Cliff did that to McVay today. He did that all over the place.
Yeah.
He had guys in motion. He had formations that they were changing out of. He had Rondale Moore in the backfield multiple times and then pulled him out. And it was a total, and excuse my language, it was a total mind fuck for LA.
Mhm.
Like, they didn't know what was coming, what was happening, and the Cardinals executed every ounce of that game plan.
Well, it was consistent, and that's why Cliff didn't need to do any of
Right.
those, low or high risk plays or whatever, because consistently they were able to move the ball, and that was super encouraging.
Well, it seems unfair at times for like AJ Green to abuse defenders the way he does with his size, right? But to have a receiver like that you can go to, and then you have Hopkins that's just talented in so many other ways, and the slot receiver, and just everything that the Cardinals have going on for weapons for Kyler Murray. You see the day like today come around, and like you said, Kirk had maybe one catch, if any catches,
Yep.
and they didn't even need to utilize him, and they still beat the Rams so handedly.
Can I say this real quick? Is this the first weekend in God knows how long where none of the Arizona teams lost? The D-backs won yesterday and today. The Mercury won today. The Cardinals won today. ASU won yesterday. And U of A didn't play. So we're all off the hook.
So it's at least been
And the Coyotes preseason won. Like,
It's
I can't remember a
been a
weekend
long-
like
The
that.
D-backs lost, let's be honest. That's really what happened here.
Rising, Phoenix Rising, I think won too.
See? Look at that.
They never lose.
Arizona.
Yeah, they won
Coming.
yesterday
All
too.
AZ.
There you go.
That's
I
good.
literally, you're probably right. That's great. Hey, it feels great to be an Arizona sports fan right now.
It is.
All right, Saul, you mentioned the offensive line. So let's grade them. That if there was one, thing to kind of pick at, I would say it would be offensive line, in particular, Josh Jones. They're struggling with injuries. So for me, I'd probably do 7.
I would go 8.
3 sacks.
I would go 8. Yeah, 3 sacks, but Josh Jones playing out of position, like Johnny said during the game, playing at right tackle, had a couple of false starts, but they had 218 yards on the ground.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's impressive no matter who you're playing against.
I'm going to go 8 as well, just because of the lack of penalties. I thought that we would see, especially against such a dominant defense like the Rams, and that defensive line, I thought we would just see, our offensive line be a little bit more shook than they were today. And I thought that they played pretty well. I know Kyler had to kind of, escape quite a few times, but I thought he did a really good job of doing that and limiting how much this defense that has been wrecking other teams, did today.
Well, maybe I'm not giving them enough credit too, because they're down Justin Murray and Kelvin Beachum, and so I thought it actually was going to be an even bigger issue than it was. So so maybe I do backtrack a little bit. I probably should have scored them a little higher, and then Aaron Donald too.
Yeah.
He didn't have a
Right?
sack. He was
Right.
in the backfield once or twice.
He left his jockstrap at the 40-yard line on that one play where Kyler got him.
You can run on them. I said it all week. I'll give it 8 as well, only because that 99-yard play drive, I know they didn't score a touchdown. It is very defeating as a defensive front when the other team, they're going to run the ball and you can't stop them. And that's what the Cardinals did late in this game. So, pass protection can be better. We hope Kelvin Beachum's back next week. But I thought Josh Jones, given the circumstances, was more than admirable today. So I would give them an 8.
Okay, Vance Joseph.
11.
11.
I thought it was a great game plan today. I don't know what, exactly how much it had to do with how much they were disrupting Stafford, but it seemed like their focus was to make sure that they weren't going to let the offense just, cruise downfield through the air and pick up, score a lot of points. Like it seemed like they sacrificed the run defense a little bit just to make sure that they were focusing on that. And it worked. I mean, yeah, they gave up quite a few rushing yards, but at the end of the day, they gave up 13 points. And against a team like this, that's damn near perfect, and those were early on too. I thought early on, I was a little worried. They came out right away and this looked like it was going to be a game it was going to be a really tough game for the Cardinals. I thought that it was going to be an uphill battle, and it turned around really quickly and went their way the rest of the game after that first quarter.
Real quick, just before we move on, Scott Carpenter mentioned, why don't we have super chats enabled? It's because we haven't hit 1,000 followers on this YouTube channel yet. We're working on that. Please help us by subscribing and hitting that notification bell and telling all your friends to subscribe, because we try to bring you guys content all week long. Also, you can go check out GoPHNX, which we plugged earlier, .com. Johnny will have his latest story on this win and what it means to this franchise as we move forward. Just a selfish plug. Subscribe, notifications, boom. Now you're
That's
in the
not
house.
selfish.
And follow us on all social media. And like our producer said, we're 140 people away from our subscribers away from enabling that super chat. So Scott,
Oh, that's
appreciate
not
the
a
love.
lot at all.
180, I'm bad at math.
Leah, you let me down.
I will go Vance Joseph 7, just because run defense isn't ideal yet. Where's Xavier Collins? He needs to play more.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go. 16th overall pick. Look good in the preseason. Played like all the preseason. And the pass rush is still hit or miss. Secondary gets an A+. If I could grade the secondary, I would give them 10, and I would give the front 7 like a 5.
Yeah.
So why don't you
That's
think
valid.
that? Why don't you think that Xavier Collins hasn't been playing?
Because they're riding the hot hand with Jordan Hicks until they lose.
So then why do you have an issue with that?
Because I think Xavier should be able to play right away. I think you can work through his mistakes right now. I'm sure they were
Work through his mistakes against LA.
I was just about to correct myself. So I'm sure they were concerned about, but the first 3 weeks you had, 3 cupcake offenses, so to speak, and you could have done that then against McVay, and next week Kyle Shanahan. I'm sure that's not what he wants to have happen. And Jordan has been playing just well enough to fend him off. But their run defense is not good enough. They're not gonna make a postseason run of note with a run defense like this.
I agree with that. I'm just a little concerned because this just reminds me of the exact same thing that happened with Isaiah Simmons last year, and it just always came back to he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready.
The difference is Isaiah played like 4 positions at Clemson. Xavier Collins played inside backer at Tulsa. He looked good in the preseason. Isaiah Simmons didn't have a preseason. They need to play him at least with 3 linebackers on the field at the same time. Maybe the formations by LA dictated the fact that they're going to spread them out. They've got 4 wideouts. They've got a tight end in Higbee. But to me, when they were running it early, that was troubling, especially when it was 10-7. I was pretty adamant. You have to get him in there because Jordan was getting washed. Thankfully, they rebounded. But, I mean, they're not good enough to not play Xavier Collins.
They were just walking down the middle.
Yeah.
I would give the defense a 7 overall, because I'm still wanting a little bit more from the pass rush, and the run defense at times can be leave a lot to be desired. So that's where I'm at.
How about the officiating?
I'll give them. I liked when they called penalties on the Rams, so I will say like a 5 maybe. They a couple roughing calls were terrible. That pick that was taken away from Marco Wilson, I mean, that really could have been a game-changing play. Thankfully, the defense held up, forced a missed field goal. It was pretty embarrassing, especially in the first half. Multiple PIs could have been called on Ramsey, on Hopkins. Officiating made that clear they weren't going to do that, which, come on. So as the game went on, I thought it got a little bit better, especially as the Cardinals ran the football. What are they going to do? But it was a little bit of a defeatist attitude in the first half when all the penalties seemed like went against Arizona, but it didn't matter.
Yeah, the officials, the atrocious call against Isaiah Simmons
Yes.
On Matthew Stafford. I was just like, are you kidding me? That's just so ridiculous. I didn't see it. I don't understand it. I don't understand why they threw the flag on that. other than that, I thought they were decent.
Yeah.
They weren't really a factor in the game. So, I'll give them a 7.
I would agree with the 5. I think 5 is being generous, but mostly because of that one play. At least the Cardinals didn't have this mountain of penalties today, but I think that's more on them and playing a little bit better disciplined, football, especially in a game this big for them. I think that call, though, that still calls like that in general, I still don't understand, where defensive linemen are getting, blocked from behind and falling down, and they do something with their arm, and now like it's not a face mask, but it somehow swung in the direction of the quarterback's upper body, but above their shoulder, and it's a 15-yard penalty that completely changes, the entire situation.
Finn in the chat said the special teams unit is elite because they forced a missed field goal in every game so far.
Yeah.
Well, field goals have been huge for this team. I mean,
The special teams are elite.
Right.
They absolutely are.
Yep.
Andy Lee's elite. Matt Prater's elite. Their
Even though
coverage
Andy
is
Lee
elite.
didn't have a great game today.
Well, typically he's very good.
Yes.
But, I mean, Prater is automatic. Like, Zane Gonzalez, we know this, doesn't make those kicks. He was missing kicks earlier today for his new team in Carolina.
Well, and
so
it completely changes, like you said. It's the personnel that changes the play calling, right? In certain situations that you can call on Prater to make those field goals.
That's right.
That you couldn't have last year.
You would have
or
had to force it on
you
fourth
would have
down
had,
or give them another
you punt
possession.
it or
Mhm.
whatever, right? Yeah, like there's absolutely those situations that
They wouldn't
have
even
kicked
attempt
it.
50-plus yarders
No,
last year.
not at all, right? And like now it seems almost automatic to the point where 60-plus yards seems reasonable to me
Yep.
now, which is crazy.
Chippy.
For
Chippy.
some reason this year, it's been a theme through the first 4 games of the season. Opposing kickers have just struggled. This was
Yeah.
Matt Gay's first missed field goal today, but it was like starting with Tennessee. It was
Loved
after week 1, it was like Tennessee's kicker gets cut, and then week 2, every single week they've missed field goals, extra points. I don't know what's going on.
It's great. I love it. I hope it continues.
It's
Yeah.
the luck.
Robbie
it's-
Gold next week hasn't been good either for San Francisco.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the luck falling.
Knock on
finally
wood
going
if you
in
hear
their
me.
way.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Johnny, did you end up? I know you were shying away from actually betting on this
I
game.
did not bet on it, no.
Okay.
I was a big-time fraud. I should have had faith in my team. I picked the
Frauds.
Cardinals to win. You did not
I didn't.
on our preview
I would've
show.
lost.
But I did not put my money where my mouth was on the DraftKings Sportsbook
Did
app.
anybody do in-game? What'd you do?
I just bet on the Cardinals straight up to cover the spread. So, yes, I bet on the Cardinals to, I guess, win, if you want to call it that. But-
Win in DraftKings.
That's exactly what happened there. There's not a guess. You
I got
did.
money. I got
I was
money
like,
back. That's all
what?
I know. Yeah. Cover the spread. Well, because I had to think for a second. They weren't favored. So,
They were not, no.
Well, if you had made a in-game parlay bet and had lost, you still would have gotten your money back anyway, because DraftKings has a little deal going on where if you place the same game parlay bet and you lose, you're going to be credited up to $25.
Yeah, that
So-
saved my ass today.
I
Yeah.
would have
Because
lost mine.
Because
for
I
sure.
absolutely, dude, the Buffalo Bills and the Texans game. I don't
We
know
told you to
why.
stay away. We told you to stay away from
Dude,
that
I
game.
was all over the Texans. I was like, dude, they're gonna shock everybody. They're gonna keep it close.
What?
Dude, I lost my ass in that thing. I lost all 4 of my parlay bets.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I got one. That was just because Josh Allen threw for over 250 yards. But other than that,
I was going
man.
to take the over in this one as part of a parlay, and then I just decided to go with the straight bet instead of the parlay.
Did the
But
over hit in this game?
No,
Yeah.
no, it didn't. Was it?
37-20, and the over was 54. it did
was
hit.
54. It would have.
Backdoor cover on the over
That's
when they
right.
scored
That's
that
right. I
touchdown
forgot about
late.
that last
Yeah.
touchdown. Yeah. I would have been really happy about that, but alas, I still get money back. In
There you
some way.
go.
I'll tell you what. It's
I
ever
will be
s-
betting next week on the Rams.
ever
or excuse
since
the Cardinals at Niners.
the first week I won $400 on a parlay. So ever since then, it's just I'm like, why am I not betting parlays all the time?
There you go.
I'm in now.
Also wanted to compliment you guys. Everybody smells great today. I don't know if you guys picked up a bottle of the Manscaped body wash. It smells great in
Well,
here.
My wife is watching from Illinois. I do
I had
smell
a
good.
feeling you were gonna go with the Manscaped, but then I was like, no, she can't
No,
possibly be,
she's
because that's
yeah.
our thing. What are
Yeah.
you doing? What are you
No.
talking about? Oh, the
She's-
body wash. Nice play.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah. everybody smells great,
I haven't got my free Manscaped stuff yet to
What?
try to plug yet.
Oh,
so, but
man.
I will say, I look a little bit like the Wolfman for this Halloween season. So
Oh
I would
my
like to
gosh.
get my shit taken care of.
Yeah.
Please help me, Manscaped. Use the promo code PHNX on manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping. I'm starting to sound like the Wolfman and look like him as well. So
The transformation is happening.
it is. It's happening slowly.
It's spooky season, so
They've got the lawnmower 2.0 or 4.0.
it's incredible.
Is it good? Tell me about
It's
it.
great. It's got light on it. Like I thought the light was just something extra to throw on and make it No, the light is helpful.
Shane was telling me about the light, and
Yeah.
he's like, "It'd be great. Your house in the dark while your wife's not
I
there."
heard.
And
Yeah, I
I'm
heard
like,
you have no
I
power
have
at
fucking
home.
electricity, dude.
Is that why you didn't get it yet? Like you haven't been able to check the mail
He lives
because
off-
nobody.
He lives out there in Maricopa where they all have generators and he ran out of gas.
Could you imagine if his wife came home and he's just sitting in the dark?
There's a pile of mail next to the front door that he hasn't been bringing.
I
in.
might-
the light just. What the
I
hell's
might
going
start
on?
sleeping at the studio at this point until she gets back. Honey, we're out of food. We don't have anything.
Pizza boxes
Living
piled
on
up.
gas station
Yeah.
sandwiches.
Gas station
Oh my
sandwiches.
gosh.
Boneless chicken wings.
From Applebee's.
All right, well, Johnny, you came up with a super fun segment that
I
you
did.
do now every Sunday.
Yes, it's called Your Headlines from Tomorrow Today with your Arizona Cardinal fans on PHNX Cardinals Twitter as I labor through these here. So Leah, our phenomenal producer, has the first one up here, and this one is from our buddy Hot Takes Don't Cry at Just Walk Away, who stated, "Silence of the Rams.
That's a
good
Cards
one.
win
I love it.
That's a good one.
34-24.
I love it.
If this was a contest, it would win. I don't even need to see the
Hands
rest
down.
of them. Like,
Yeah.
that is
Yep.
on point.
It's a walk off right there. Just like
Love
the
it.
D-backs.
We might just steal that for
We
PHNX.
almost
Yeah,
stole it, but
I'm-
then we just gave it to Hot Takes Don't Cry.
Yeah.
So,
Good
so that's
job.
number one.
Good
That
job.
was great.
Well done.
Number two, Craig at Craig P. Colleen says a Hollywood ending. Cards Prater kicks 70-yard field goal to win in OT against the Rams.
Redemption.
I love it.
Thankfully, it did not come to that. We'd all be shitting our pants here if that would have happened.
Wow, I would have loved to see that. That's a
Alright.
great
We would
storyline.
just use that Manscaped ball spritzer to
Uh-huh.
freshen everything up a little bit afterwards.
All right, Chierstin.
just-
We'll get this show over here in a second. All right. And then Rufus brings us home with House of Cards falls. Sorry,
Boo.
Rufus. That
All
did
right.
not happen.
Nope.
Cards are 4-0. They're undefeated. Lone team in the NFL to remain unbeaten.
Loser.
Yeah.
Suck it,
When
Rufus.
was the last time
we
that,
glued
that's
this
what I
house
want to
of
know.
cards
When the
together.
last time the Cardinals were the only undefeated team in the league?
I don't think it's ever happened.
They
Yeah.
were 4-0 in 2012.
Yeah, but we
and
won
then they
five in
lost
2012.
every game but one. They
Yeah.
finished 5-11
Yeah.
that season.
But when
I
they
think
were 4-0 that year, were they the
I think so.
Yeah, the next game they played, I think Philadelphia, and Cobb got hurt, and then
Oh,
all hell
wow.
broke loose.
That's
after that.
right.
No, they played at the Rams. I was at that game in the
Epic
Edward Jones
Columbus.
Dome. Cobb got sacked 9 times that
Oh,
night.
no.
9
On Thursday Night Football,
times.
right?
No.
Yes. My
Yeah.
dad and I were there in the Edward Jones Dome.
He was never the same.
May he rest in peace. The shitty old dome, and they got their brains beat in by, I think Donald was on the team. That was his rookie year, I think.
9 times.
Damn.
Full
Good
circle.
Wow.
Wow.
All right. Do we have any final thoughts? Is there anything we missed over from this game?
I just can't give Kingsbury and Kyler enough credit. This was their signature win that they needed.
Yep.
Be writing about it on gophnx.com. I thought even if they had a competitive outing, I would have commended them, even though we're not into moral victories. But, I mean, they put the NFL on notice today. Like, we're a legitimate contender in the NFC. No doubt about it.
I was driving in today or earlier this morning and listening to some of the ESPN guys like Myron Metcalf and stuff talk about the Cardinals and the Rams, and on paper and their resume thus far, yeah, the Cardinals largely look like frauds. Like it took a miracle game-losing field goal attempt by the Vikings for the Cardinals to not be at least 2-1 at the least, and then Urban Meyering. I just made that up.
Urban's got a lot going on.
Maybe he was focused too much on what was coming up in the
Ooh,
club later
yeah.
on in the week. But
He's got a lot going on right now.
But if he doesn't do that, then maybe the Jaguars pull out that victory. And so the Cardinals could have easily been 1-2, but they're not, and they took advantage of the opportunities that presented themselves. They are 3-0 moving into this big time game, and they proved to the world that they are a legit championship contender by the way they smacked the hell out of the Rams.
I guarantee you, if they continue on this path, they will make a significant trade at the deadline to try to get to Super Bowl aspirations. I promise you, if the run defense is this inconsistent, especially on the defensive line, I could absolutely see them bringing like a Fletcher Cox or somebody like that to help from the interior. They'll ship out a
Don't
pick.
tease me with those big words.
They are trying to win this year. Their chips are in the middle of the table. They will not let something like that bring them down this year, especially when we don't know where our buddy Jordan Phillips is. So
You mentioned,
Where
Frank.
in the world is Jordan Phillips?
You mentioned no moral victories, but I felt going into this game, as long as they didn't beat themselves and played a competitive game, even if they lost this game, it was going to be a good thing moving forward. So they exceeded my expectations, and I same here. I can't give enough credit to Cliff and Kyler. And David Ubben of The Athletic tweeted something out that Cliff, even going back to Texas Tech, this is only the second time in his career as a head coach at any level that he has ever gotten off to a 4-0 start. So that is a big deal for him. Again, he's never been able to beat Sean McVay. The Arizona Cardinals were able to snap an 8-game losing streak to the Rams. And I knew early on, too, when another stat popped up that the Rams had never allowed an opponent to score the first quarter this year, that as soon as the Cardinals did that, I felt like, okay, they're giving themselves a chance here. Yeah. And they took off from there. So I could not be more optimistic. Could not be more optimistic from this point forward.
like you look at next week's game, it's very winnable now.
Well, not only that, but I mean, look at the division. Like, you have the Rams that are going up to Seattle now, who just beat the 49ers in San Francisco. It's not an easy place to play. The Rams and the Seahawks, obviously, we know how bitter that rivalry is as well. The Rams could very well go to 2-2 by the time that game's over.
Yep.
And the Cardinals could have a 2-game lead on everybody in the division at least. That's a big time thing.
In 4 weeks, did you at the beginning, oh my God,
Never.
This is the hardest division. And then 4 weeks in, we're like, wait a second.
Well, I thought the Niners were fraudulent, and they're making a change at quarterback. It sounds like Trent Williams is hurt now. They're very concerned. That, to me, anytime you're kind of going back and forth with a kid who hadn't played football in 18 months, you're not a contender in the NFC. And then you look at Matthew Stafford, the upgrades that they made, and then, of course, Seattle being Seattle. I always felt like the Cardinals had to overcome those two teams.
And now the Seahawks have to have a short week and have to play the Rams after playing the Niners.
Or the Rams have a short week and have to play the Seahawks.
That too, yeah.
So I think this week will determine a lot about the mental state of this Rams team. Are they legit? You know what I mean? Like, they've had a relatively easy road as well, except for the Buccaneers at home. Are they going to come out and they're going to show, like, hey, we're legit that team? Like, we might have goofed up on Sunday, but like, coming out on Thursday night is going to show a lot. So we'll see.
I'd like to think the Cardinals drove Urban Meyer to do whatever he did midweek, but that's a whole other thing. I think that this game went from hoping that they don't get embarrassed to it being such a pivotal turning point for this team at this point. Like you said,
yeah.
If I was a part of the front office, I would be immediately thinking completely different about the potential of this team this season after seeing what they did against the team that, I mean, honestly, after week 3, people were like, yeah, Rams, Super Bowl bound, right? So it's like they weren't saying that about the Cardinals. They were pointing out the flaws and such that the Cardinals had, but they were talking about the Rams being legitimate Super Bowl contenders just after 3 weeks. So I think the big difference here is that the Cardinals can look at this win and see it not just being as like, hey, we played a good game, we played a great game.
Yeah.
And this team looks like they can beat anybody in this league at this point.
Their ability to get a defensive tackle is imperative.
Correct.
Like, I don't know if they're legit championship contenders without that.
They're going to have to call the Houstons of the world, the Philadelphias of the world, the teams that are completely out of it.
Sure.
And the trade deadline is very robust in the NFL as opposed to like 10 years ago. Like, trades are made, and they're going to be in a position where they're going to be able to package. I mean, like, I would not put it past them to package their third round. They don't have a fourth next year because of Marco Wilson. Would not put it past them to ship out a third round pick for 6 months of a guy that can come in and help fuel Super Bowl runs.
That's my only negative takeaway from this game is,
and that's just that's concerning with
JJ Watt. Like, where are you at?
Yeah.
Chandler Jones, again, we talked about this morning on the tailgate. You're going up against a 39-year-old left tackle in Andrew Whitworth, and he barely got any pressure on the quarterback. Like, bruh, where are we at?
Yep.
Like, let's go. We got to figure this one out. And schematically, I think Vance Joseph is going to have to figure out, a few different ways to get more pressure maybe playing the 3 linebackers at the same time with Zaven Collins as well a little bit more than he would like is a solution. But up front, those front 4, they need something a little bit more than what they're getting.
Right, because the nice thing is you've got your ace in the hole with Xavier at some point to plug and play him and help your defense, whether that's in October or November or whenever. I don't think they have a capable penetrating. It's the 3 technique, the nose tackle. With all due respect to Corey Peters, who's on a 1-year vet minimum contract, they need to be better there.
Yeah.
All right. If you guys are not following us on social media yet at PHNX_sports, if you haven't hit that subscribe button to wherever you get your podcasts or YouTube, be sure to do that as well. And guys, I will leave you with one final statement. It's Kime time. We'll see you on Monday.